Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of my podcast. Today's podcast is called Stand on the Shoulders of Giants. And as usual, I'll begin this podcast with a quote. Life is divided into three terms: that which was, which is, and which will be. Let us learn from the past to profit by the present, and from the present to live better in the future. And that's the quote by William Wordsworth. There's no need to recreate the wheel. There is somebody that has lived on this world before we've even came into existence, came into being, or whatever scenario you could fathom that has already accomplished what we're trying to accomplish. And if they haven't accomplished what we're trying to accomplish, they have laid the groundwork or the foundation for what we're trying to do. So if we're trying to accomplish a goal or attain an achievement or anything out there that we're trying to do, basically, because there's nothing new under the sun, there's somebody out there that has already laid the foundation for what we're trying to achieve, for what we're trying to accomplish. So in efforts, in this journey that we're living through life, that we're experiencing, that we're actively participating on a daily basis, it would be easier for us, or it would behoove us, as one of my instructors used to say, to live off of the lessons learned and the mistakes and the successes that other people have already experienced, so that we can then in turn cut the distance between our goals and accomplishing our dreams and our goals. Like, there's no need to repeat the mistakes and the errors that people have already made because they've already made them. Like, you don't need to learn a lesson if you can the hard way, if you can already just view it and learn from the mistakes that other people have made, or from the successes that other people have had. You know, a lot of things that we do in life are just as simple as looking at other people before us who have been successful and then emulating or copying what they have done with little tweaks and modifications based on your situation or your life, and tailoring your experience or your journey in a way that is conducive to being successful for you, or for you achieving your goals, your dreams, or your desires. So there is no need for you to recreate the wheel. None whatsoever. It's already been done. And if it hasn't been done, the foundation has been laid for you to springboard off of that in order to achieve your goals, your dreams, and your desires. Like we have previously discussed, we have the superpower of choice, and it is prevalent in this situation as well. We can learn from the mistakes of others, or we could choose to take the hard way and make mistakes and learn the lesson ourselves. Again, as we've discussed, just like I said here previously, we have choice. Choice is a superpower. It is the power that we have no matter what situation we're in, no matter what we're going through, no matter what our dream is, no matter who is in charge of us or not in charge of us, no matter how much freedom we do or don't have. Choice is something that we will always have in every situation. No matter how good or how bad the situation is, we will always have the power of choice. And knowing that, we can choose to either be observant and see that others on a similar walk of life or on a similar path have made mistakes, have made pitfalls, or have taken a road that has taken them a long way around them achieving their success. And we can learn from that and say, hey, instead of going down this road, I'm going to go down this road. And maybe it will give me a shorter route to success, or maybe it'll just give me a different route to achieving my success. But we already know what that road holds, you know, and sometimes the mistakes and the pitfalls are going to be worth it, or they're going to be something that you're going to just have to endure regardless. But the message that I'm trying to give you today is that we don't have to start from scratch every time we're trying to achieve a goal or accomplish something in our life. There is somebody out there that has already achieved what we're trying to do. And if they haven't achieved what we're trying to do, if we're out here creating something new, groundbreaking, and something that'll change the dynamic of society or the way that, you know, the world or this nation operates, that somebody already has laid the groundwork ahead of us that we can use to springboard into something something bigger, something better. And if it hasn't already been created, because again, we talk about, and we talk in generalities, but there are definitely situations where this won't apply. Like you're doing some type of groundbreaking work, or you've come up with a groundbreaking philosophy or idea that really nobody has ever thought about in the way that you're thinking about it. And that's cool. The world needs that. You're going to make mistakes. There are definitely lessons to be learned in mistakes. I'm not saying mistakes are bad. I'm not saying that we should try to avoid them at any cost, at any or every cost. What I'm trying to say is that we need to learn how to move strategically. And in saying that, what I'm saying is there are experiences that we're going to have to go through, and there's experiences that we don't have to necessarily go through to achieve a lesson. Like something that we can all relate to is our family dynamics. If we've grown up with our parents, we've grown up with our families, and we've seen, the mistakes that they've made, and the successes that they've achieved, and how they've ended up where they are today presently. And if we don't want to have that same result for ourselves, we can then build on what they have established and create something further. Like we can use their mistakes, their successes, and their achievements to get us further along. Like I was able in my life to achieve the things that I have achieved because my mom made sacrifices and did what she needed to do in order to give me that foundation to be able to jump from. So even if it seems like, you're not achieving your success, or you're not accomplishing your dreams, or you're not living the life that you feel that you can live, and you're not where you want to be, that's fine. Keep striving to get to where you want to be. Keep striving for those goals and those dreams, because you have them for a reason. And at the end of the day, even if you don't accomplish those dreams, somebody will still, your children, grandchildren, somebody in your life, or somebody maybe that you encounter, will be able to leap from your shoulders onward to a plane where maybe if you hadn't have stepped out in faith, or you hadn't have had attempted to achieve your goal, that they wouldn't have been able to reach that level because they didn't have the foundation that you gave them in order to achieve that height. So it's not all about you. There's a bigger dynamic, a bigger concept to consider. Like your efforts might not be so that you benefit from it directly. This might be something that generations down the road might be able to benefit from. This, you might be the person that is creating a tick mark, placing a bookmark in history, where your family will be able to look back and be like, this person right here is the reason why we are the way we are today. They created the shift in the dynamic, the shift in perception, perspective, and because of the efforts that they took, the strives that they made in their life, even though they didn't directly benefit from it, we are now living a life the way we are currently living, experiencing reality in the way we are, because this person decided that they weren't gonna just settle for less, that they were gonna try to achieve more. Just because our families, our friends, our communities, even the nation we live in have made mistakes doesn't mean that we are destined to repeat them. We have the power of choice. You can choose at any point in time to be different. You can choose at any point in time that this is not the road you want to walk. You can choose to walk a different walk. You can choose to behave differently, act differently, accept things that you haven't accepted. You can choose to walk away from things that you've accepted in the past. This life is yours. There's nothing that's predetermined. You control your life. You control what happens to you. You control your experience. This is your journey. Now, again, I'm speaking in generalities, but there are certain things that are pressed upon you, like physical conditions, ailments, stuff like that. But again, even if you have those conditions, those ailments, those diagnoses, you can still have a perspective on how to look at life regardless of that. For instance, one of the biggest motivators in my life, my mentor, my grandfather, he was paralyzed from the waist down. And he had been paralyzed all of my mother's life. He was paralyzed all of my life. And that was his condition until he passed on. But I learned more from him than I had learned from any man walking upright on 2 feet. And that's because regardless of his condition and his situation, he didn't let that affect how he viewed life, how he viewed the world. He understood that he was a man, and the only thing that changed from before he experienced that accident or that incident which took his legs away, his ability to walk, is that, he no longer has the ability to walk. He still felt that he needed to provide for his family. He still felt that he had obligations to, his community and stuff like that. So he acted accordingly. He still worked a full-time job. He still drove a car. He showed up to my football games, my mom's events and stuff like that. He for all intents and purposes was still able to carry himself and conduct himself in life as if nothing happened. And that was because the strength of just his mental focus, the strength of his decision internally to not allow his external circumstances to dictate how he viewed his life. Now, he did get sad and down on himself, like at certain parts, but by and large, I remember my grandfather's existence on this earth as a happy time. I do not have a lot of sad memories or memories where I remember him throwing pity parties of being down on himself. And that gives me motivation, and I'm able to jump off of his shoulders and try to be a better me and strive for better for my daughters and for my family. Because if he can be, in my mind, in my life, if he could be this monumental figure, and he didn't even have the ability to walk, that didn't take away from his ability to impact people's lives. So when I look at my life and I say, well, I don't have money to do what I want to do, or I don't have the influence I need to do what I want to do, or I don't have, the many excuses that we give ourselves on a daily basis to not live up to our full potential. My grandfather didn't have the ability to walk, and he was still this monumental figure in my life, more so than a lot of other people that I encountered with, to the point that even though he's passed on, I'm still doing things in effort to try to better myself and better my community in the way that my grandfather helped to establish a foundation in my life. And even though he's not around to see it or hear my podcast or see my website or anything like that, because of the strides that he took in his life, I'm now able to reach this next level, to achieve this new height. And that's what it's all about. It takes a village. Don't be afraid to be different. A lot of people in the world like to go with the flow, and that's because different is oftentimes ostracized or penalized, or whatever word you want to use, but different isn't viewed as good always. If you are the different person in school, if you're the different person in society, you kind of tend to be, ostracized, picked on, or whatever. But don't be afraid to be different, because there are a lot of examples of animals in nature that are different, but they have the qualities, they exhibit the qualities that we want to have, like lions and eagles, and I mean many other animals. They're prideful. They know who they are. They don't look for, the, I don't know what you'd even call it. A lot of what we place on animals, I mean, they don't really think in the concept that we think, is more of a behavioral type survivalistic mindset. They don't really occupy their mindsets with like, hey, who likes me or who doesn't like me, or how does this fish feel about me eating it? It's more of a survivalistic thing. And we attribute a lot of qualities to these animals that we want to have based on their existence, like how eagles fly alone. They don't fly around in a herd or a pack or a flock like how pigeons would, or other birds. But don't be afraid to be different. There's nothing wrong with being different. Being different is a good thing. It's unique. You stand out. You are not going with the flow. You're not just another robot. Be different. There's nothing wrong with being different. The people in society that have made the greatest impact, if you look back over time, have been those who were different. And oftentimes those people, those very same people, are the people that were ostracized. But when we look back on those people, we celebrate them for their accomplishments and for their understanding, for their being different. Because if they weren't different, then it probably would have been a much later moment in time until we got the concepts of the contributions that those people who were different gave the world. So be different. Dare to be different. I know that's corny. That's one of the phrases that they gave us back when I was a little kid from the Dare program. But it's true. Dare to be different in many different respects. Dare to be different. If you do what others have always done, you will get what others have always got. Again, dare to be different. If you see something in your family that is something that you don't want to have in your life, like a financial problem or relationship issues or whatever kind of dynamic or situation is present in your family that you don't want to have present in your family or in your future, then do something different. Sit down, evaluate your life, evaluate your situation, your journey, your path. Go talk to a therapist. Do what you need to do to break that cycle and try to create something different. Be different. Be the one that doesn't have a horrible relationship with money. Be the one that doesn't, whatever. It applies to everything and anything. I can't put a specific title to it because it's just so encompassing. It could go with whatever you're dealing with in any aspect. I was going to give a few examples, but I had so many examples running through my head. It wasn't just one I could focus on. It's everything. The generational curses that we have on our family. Be the person that breaks that. Be the person that when your family looks back, again, you could be that bookmark. They're like, this is where our financial problems stopped. This is a person who decided to invest in this rather than spend money, and because of them generations now we've established generational wealth. Be that person that's different. Let be that person who establishes the foundation, the shoulders from which other generations can then jump off of, and you have now created a new standard. You've created a platform from which greatness can now be attained or obtained. So the title of this podcast is actually part of a quote that I got from Sir Isaac Newton. And the quote says, if I have seen a little further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. Sir Isaac Newton believed in using understanding gained by major thinkers who have gone before him in order to make intellectual progress that he did. And actually, a lot of people in the past did this very same practice. Like, people would establish something and then they would pass away or whatever would happen, and that would be the end of their work. And then somebody else in another time frame, another educated or enlightened individual will come along and they will pick up where that person left off and carry it a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further. And that's how we got to where we are today, because philosophers, artists of all sorts, scientists, it just keeps building and building upon itself. And this is in essence what learning is. We get a new principle or a new understanding, and then somebody takes that as far as they could take it. And then somebody else looks at this and say, hey, maybe if you look at it this way or that way, or they add to it, and then it becomes something new, and then it becomes a new field of study, a new field of research. And that's why we keep expanding and learning, because there are individuals in society and life who take what great people have done, contributions people have made to our society, and they jump off of their accomplishments of their contributions, and then they add to them and make them a little bit better. And then when they stop, somebody else jumps off their accomplishments. And that's how society, our global community has been able to progress into the era that we are now, to where in 2021, excuse me, we have the most access to information. We're making new leaps and new bounds in science and social science, anatomy, physiology, chemistry, biology, physics, quantum physics. Like we keep making new discoveries in all of these areas, these fields, because there are people out there who are willing to do what's necessary. But it all starts with them picking up the mantle that somebody else has dropped off. And we talk about this a lot in school. This is our most shared example, the thing that that all of us can most relate to. You go to school, you learn algebra, you learn geometry, you learn trigonometry, you learn calculus, you learn different types of sciences, you learn different type of philosophy and English and stuff like that, concepts. And then once you go through from kindergarten to high school, you're taught all of that stuff. But after high school, it's your choice on what you choose to continue to develop your reasoning and expand your knowledge on. Nobody is forcing you to attend college. It's a choice. And then once you get in college, you choose your major. And that's hopefully the field that you want to study and you want to get a career in and expand or develop or better yourself in, or better the field in. And again, this is much like life. Like as we grow up, we're learning stuff, we're developing new norms, we're developing how we act in society, we're seeing how our family has maneuvered in society, we're picking up the good things and the bad things that we want and we don't want. And then when you get into a certain age, it shifts from being your family's responsibility to being your responsibility. And then at that point in life is where you have to decide, hey, what do I want for myself? What do I want for my family? What are the good things that my family showed me? What are the bad things that my family showed me? What do I want in my life? What don't I want in my life? What do I want my kids to have? What do I want my grandkids to experience? You decide what you want for your life. You decide what you want for your family's life. You decide what you're not going to stand for, what you're not going to accept. And you create that shift, but that shift is started basically by the foundation that's created as when you're a child. And when you reach that point of maturity, sometimes it's 18 for some people, sometimes it's a little bit earlier, sometimes it's a little bit later. But at some point in time, you're going to have to jump off of the shoulders of your family into the unknown and start creating your own foundation, creating your own reality, creating your own trajectory from where you want to take your family. And not just only the family that you're going to create, like your kids, your wife, and your grandkids, and later on down the road, but you now control the trajectory of your whole family, because you carry your family's name, whether you're a wife or a husband. When you become a wife, you take on that name. Y'all create together. Y'all create a new nucleus within this family, this universe that is y'all's last name. You create a new nucleus. And with that new nucleus, you then begin to expand. You got you and your husband, y'all have kids. Your kids have grandkids. Your grandkids have their kids. And then it just expands into a whole nother universe. And then you have, this universe, that universe, this universe, and it's just your family. This galaxy that is your family. And the trajectories of these families are based on the generations, what they have chosen to do. So your grandmother and grandfather may have experienced a whole nother reality or type of circumstances than what you're experiencing. And that is largely based on what the generations before you did when it was their turn to leap into the atmosphere and create their own trajectory, create their own reality. And in some aspects, our families made great decisions. And in some aspects, they haven't made great decisions, but that's life. Life is a journey. There's no checklist that's given to us when we're born that says, in order to live a perfect life, this is what you need to do. And you just go through life like, hey, if I go through kindergarten, if I go through primary school, middle school, high school, go to college, get this degree, get this job, in 30 years I'll be able to retire, my family will be set, I won't have to worry about any economic downfalls or anything like that. You can't predict your life. You could try to as best as you want to. I tried to, but there's definitely going to be hurdles that present themselves. And these hurdles, I don't look at them negatively. I just look at them as like a test of your will. These hurdles appear to see how bad you want what you're trying to obtain. How bad, how resilient you are in achieving your goal. Like when I went through Marine Corps boot camp, we had something at the end of our training evolution called the Crucible. So up until this point in time, we have been through 12 and a half weeks of training, and it was rough. It was some of the most transformative weeks of my life. And then the Crucible is just this non-stop training evolution that is, it's definitely a test of your will, but up until this point in time, you have been trying to get to this moment, and this is the only hurdle left to get through in order to obtain your graduation. So for me, I didn't see it as a challenge. I saw it as, I got to get through this to get to what I ultimately want, was achieving that title of being a United States Marine. So quitting was never an option. Going through out boot camp quitting was never an option. But at this moment in time, at this place, the singleness of focus that I had was just unreal. This feeling, I wish I could give people this feeling that I felt, but it was just concentration 100% on what I wanted to achieve. Nothing else mattered. Pain didn't matter, hunger didn't matter, thirst didn't matter. I would, of course, make sure I was properly hydrated and that I could get nutrition where I can to keep going. But all of that stuff didn't matter. I just wanted to go and get what I was chasing after. I had one goal in mind. It was on the other side of this, and I just wanted to achieve it. I just wanted to go after it and just achieve it, just finally achieve it. I've been reading books, seeing it on the internet, talking to people about it, and now I can finally touch it. Like I can reach out and actually obtain this goal for myself. And it was just like an unreal feeling. And that's how I look at other hurdles I face in my life. Like I see them as, this is the block to what I want that's on the other side of it. And I just have to stay true to myself, stay true to my path, fight through this difficulty, this hurdle, and get through to the other side. Because on the other side, it's going to be everything that I've wanted, everything that I've dreamed for, everything that I've read books about, that I've, meditated on and focused on and created and visualized in my mind. Like it's all on the other side of this hardship. So dare to be different, realize that the importance of your existence in this reality, that you can definitely create a different trajectory for your family, for your community, for society, for your nation. Like you do matter. And at the end of the day, knowledge is power, and we just have to focus on obtaining that knowledge and then the application thereof.